We're going to go over protein powder problems right now. Protein spiking. We're going to talk about concentrates. We're going to talk about organic protein and the BS around organic protein. So if you're taking organic protein, you're taking beef protein. Here's the problems in the industry right now if you're consuming protein powder. Everybody's talking about taking protein powder, taking creatine. Congratulations, 1992 is back in session. But there's a lot of information out there, a lot of new people, especially on TikTok, as TikTok is the primary audience that we're going to be going live on right now, just because I think that there's a massive opportunity to educate the people who are on TikTok. So feel free to ask questions. I am going to do my best here on my dual cam to try and see what type of questions you guys have and go through them and answer them as diligently as I can be. So thank you so much, Diwali. Thank you, Will. Thank you guys for joining. So protein powder, let's just kind of get into it. Protein powder problems. If you're taking away protein, you might want to listen up. I'm telling you right now, this will save you money. This is going to save your gut. This is going to save your results. This is going to save your building muscle. Protein powder is the most common way in which you are being duped when it comes to supplementation because it's such a large category. Everybody just kind of thinks that like protein powder, I need more protein, need more protein. So I'm going to get the best flavor. I'm going to get the best price that I can possibly buy. I'm going to run into Costco. I'm going to go into a grocery store. I'm even going to go into like a GNC vitamin shop and, oh, that flavor, that looks really good. I'm going to buy that flavor because I recognize it. The problem is the number one problem with protein powder right now, the number one problem with any whey protein powder if you're buying it, is the quality of the whey protein that they're using is crap, okay? And here's the reason why, and I will dispel any arguments on the latter. Whey protein concentrate is a type of protein powder that you guys want to avoid. Whey protein concentrate is a lower percentage of protein, which 90% or most of the protein powders you're going to find in the marketplace use. And where you find that out is you got to flip the jar around. If you're, you have a jar here, I have some protein powders over here, which are very common protein powders that you're going to find, but underneath the supplement facts panel, okay? So all of you who want to find out how to do it, look underneath the supplement facts panel, okay? And right over here, you're going to see ingredients. I don't know if you guys can see that, but ingredients. Ingredients underneath the supplement facts panel or the nutrition facts panel is how you're going to legitimately find out whether or not the protein powder is quality. If you see this phrase, whey protein concentrate, that tells you that that protein quality is low, okay? The protein concentrate is low. The lactose is high. They're not isolating the protein. When it goes into the blender, when they are putting this protein in the manufacturing facility and it is being blended together, they are not isolating the protein powder to get a higher percentage of protein in the bag or in the tub or whatever you're doing. So whey protein concentrate is significantly cheaper, and that's the reason why most whey protein powders use whey protein concentrate. And some of them mix the isolate and the concentrate together. There's plenty of protein powders. I have one sitting right here. The most dominant whey protein powder in the marketplace is a blend, as they call it, of whey protein concentrate and whey protein isolate. That's not a true blend, by the way. A blend is different types of protein that digest differently so that you can prolong muscle protein synthesis so that you can extend your anabolic window and build more muscle and burn more fat. Wouldn't you want to build more muscle and burn more fat with the highest quality of protein? And essentially, it's the same price when you actually look at it from the consumer standpoint of what you buy. Most people don't know that. The whey protein concentrate, you have basically three categories that you're going to look at with whey protein concentrate. You're going to look at whey protein under $40 in a 2-pound tub. And in our case, this is a 2-pound bag. And I'll explain why we use bags in just a second. But predominantly speaking, you have the under 49. Like this right now is a $39.99 for a 2-pound bag, okay? Then you have your $44.99. And then you have your 55 and above, all the way up to, if it's a 4-pound bag, typically it's going to be right around $70 because whey protein is not cheap, especially if it's isolate. So my point is whey protein concentrate, why don't you want to take it? As I said, The vast majority of people who take whey protein concentrate, it's not that it's like, terrible for you, but it's going to be a lower percentage. You're getting at best 80% in that scoop actual protein from whey. The rest of what's in that scoop is lactose. And if you're taking as many protein shakes as you probably should, 2 or more per day, really, depending on your macros and what you're trying to hit based on your protein needs, which should be 1.5 to 2 grams per pound of body weight. I know a lot of people, a lot of nutritionists say just eat 1 gram of protein per day per pound of body weight. That's not enough if you want to build muscle. That's what like the average person should be hitting. If you're 200 pounds and you are getting 1 gram of protein, 200 grams of protein per day, that's just enough to like live. That's what you should do to like, kind of live the best balanced life you can. But if you want to build muscle, you need more. So if those people who typically take whey protein take it because they want to build more muscle and they understand that it's going to help them significantly with that achievement, they need to be consuming at minimum 1.5 grams of protein per day, per pound of body weight. So what you're consuming needs to be of higher quality. And whey protein concentrate is not the higher quality. I heard a good argument from actually Tom DeLauer, who I like, I respect. He's a smart guy and he's trying to do the right thing. But he said, whey protein concentrate is actually a good option if you're looking for like a balanced ratio of protein, fats, and carbs. And I'm like, people who buy whey protein aren't trying to get a balanced diet from their whey protein powder by getting a proper amount of carbs, which essentially, carbs and fat or lactose. I'm like, they're buying whey protein. It doesn't say get a balanced meal replacement of carbs, fats, and protein. It's like they want whey protein. They're thinking they're getting, when it says 100% whey protein, in my mind as a consumer, I'm thinking that is 100% protein that I'm getting in that scoop. Well, that's not true. You're getting 24 grams of protein, but it's 80% protein. The rest is lactose, which is the reason why you consume it. Most people say, oh, my stomach hurts, I got to go to the bathroom. That's the reason why. The reason why most people, when they say they can't take, look, I used to help run the Mr. Olympia for 10 years, and I will tell you this much. When you have essentially 15,000 people in an expo hall, and you have public bathrooms at the Mr. Olympia, and all these guys and people are going around, taking shots of protein all day long, and most of it is whey protein concentrate, I'll tell you what the bathrooms smell like. It ain't good. And that's because, I ate too much protein. It wrecks my stomach. Well, yeah, because 90% of what you just took off of the supplement floor getting a free sample was whey protein concentrate. Why? Because the majority of those companies do it because it's a cheap source of protein. That's the reason why. So it's fine if that's as long as you know that. And if you're fine with that, if you actually are educated enough to say, look, I like whey protein concentrate, then fine, go get it. I'm just saying 23 years now being in the industry, now knowing it after owning my own brand for 12 years with Dr. Jim Sapani, he's educated me enough to know that I don't want whey protein concentrate. We don't use whey protein concentrate. We will never use whey protein concentrate. So what do you need to look for? Isolates. Whey protein isolates. And that word is key. And what that means is that word has meaning too in the manufacturing process. The word isolate has a significant meaning, which means they've isolated as much of the protein that they can, eliminating the byproducts, removing the carbs, removing the fat, removing the lactose, so you're left with what's in your scoop, 90% or better of actual protein. So the byproducts of what you're getting, so that 24 grams of protein that you're getting, if they use isolates, it is a cleaner, if you will, source of protein. Now, what does that mean? That means that you can guarantee and feel really good that what you think you're buying, you're actually buying, which is a high quality premium protein blend. And a blend I'm going to explain in just a second. So we only use isolates. Now, there's different types of protein in which do different things, okay? If you look at like kind of the box of whey protein, keep it simple, 2 boxes. In this box, there's fast digesting protein, which spikes insulin that stimulates muscle protein synthesis. And those types of protein are both whey protein concentrate, whey protein isolate, hydrolyzed whey protein, which it's almost too fast, but that's the bucket that sits here. The other bucket is slow digesting protein, protein that takes a little bit longer to absorb and be utilized by the body. That's usually casein protein. So you have whey protein isolates and casein protein. Stay away from the concentrates. If you want the best bang for your buck in terms of what actually works, you want a whey protein isolate protein for a fast digesting protein. But if you want to extend muscle protein synthesis, if you want to increase the time in which your body is building muscle and burning fat, you want, thank you guys, thank you Will, thank you Jess, as always, thank you guys. But if you want to increase the amount of time in which you're anabolic, having a blend, a real blend here, a blend means different digesting type of proteins. That's where you want a whey protein isolate and and casein protein. Those are both fast and slow. So as the fast box goes up and, stimulates muscle protein synthesis like that, well, your body is utilizing the protein, right? Especially in recovery phase. And then as your body uses this protein, if it's got nothing left, then guess what? That anabolic window shortens, and that muscle protein synthesis essentially is not as active as it was when it was utilizing the protein that turns on and triggers muscle protein synthesis. So if you have other slower digesting protein that is just starting to peak in the body, starting to absorb it, then guess what? Muscle protein synthesis goes from here and it extends out here. It becomes longer. And why is that important? Because essentially we're always trying to stay anabolic throughout the day. Because when we're catabolic, look, your body is going to either use the nutrients that you have in it, store those nutrients, or expel those nutrients, get rid of them, okay? And so typically when your body is, active, your body uses nutrients when it's active. Okay, tell that to anybody who actually, is tired, their glycogen levels, go down. Drink some fast digesting carbs. That's how Gatorade actually came into existence. Look at the story of Gatorade, okay? In the 70s, I think it was 70s, forget the actual year, but the Gators, the Florida Gators, the football team, because of the hot and being hot and humid, they're basically not dying on the field, but they were fatiguing, passing out on the field, things like that. Then the Gatorade Sports Science Institute, which is now the Gatorade Sports Science Institute, one of the most accredited institutions in which actually does a lot of research on products and supplements. That's how Gatorade started. They just put in what? Water and dextrose, flavored dextrose. I think it was yellow back in the day, right? Or orange, whatever it was. And they found that introducing carbs, a fast digesting carbs, are essentially a sugar with water, dextrose, actually helped the athletes replenish their glycogen levels. And guess what? They weren't passing out on the field. So that's a great example of your body utilizing a nutrient because it's active. And so that's what you really want with protein is protein. You need to consume. If you want to build muscle, you want to burn fat, protein is essential, and that's key. But it's essential to also understand and know the type of protein in which you're going to be best served for when you're spending your money. Look, you want to take protein in order to build muscle and burn fat, fine. But I know what you don't want to do because I experience it. I don't want to be every time I have a protein shake, I don't want to have to run to the bathroom. And I swear, for 10 years, because when I was at Muscle and Fitness, many of these companies would send in all types of protein that I represented. A lot of them are now my competitors 12 years later. But the reason for that is because I went through the experience that y'all did. The difference is I was a connoisseur of supplements. I took pretty much everything because I had the advantage to do it. I had at any time 20 to 30 brands that sat in my supplement cabinet at Muscle and Fitness Magazine down in Woodland Hills. They would send in stuff all the time. I was taking Champion Nutrition. I was taking Muscle Tech. I was taking Optimum. I was taking Dymatize. I was taking BSN. I was taking Cytosport, which really messed up my stomach. But I was taking just about every single type of protein powder back in the day. I went through it all, and I kept telling Jim, dude, my stomach is wrecked. All this protein, you keep telling me, I keep reading your articles that you say I need to take protein, and every single time that I take protein, I feel like crap. And he goes, that's because the vast majority of those brands that you just have in your office, Mike, I've seen your supplement cabinet, they use all whey protein concentrate. I'm like, well, what's that? He goes, well, basically it's a lot of lactose. I'm like, what's that? He goes, well, basically, that's the stuff that's probably wrecking your stomach because the vast majority of the people who live in the United States have moderate to severe lactose intolerance. That's the reason why. Oh, is there a better option? Yeah, take isolates. So to be honest with you, that's when I started taking Dimetize as isolate and Isopure. Isopure and Dimetize were the only protein powders that I would actually take prior to launching our own. So there are still some good ones out there, but in terms of a blend, one with the ratio of both fast digesting protein, which is an isolate, and slow digesting, which is casein, that's what you want to take in order to have the best result so that you can get your anabolic window extended and muscle protein synthesis lasts for the appropriate time, which you're going to build more muscle and burn more fat. So that's the first problem. The other problem that still exists today, it's just not as easier to spot, is protein spiking. And what is protein spiking? Okay? So rather than me articulating it, I'm going to read it to you. Okay? So what is protein spiking? Well, some companies just outright lie on the label about how much of their protein powder is actually protein. There's a clever trick that is known as nitrogen spiking. That's what that is. Nitrogen spiking is also called amino spiking or protein spiking. So a couple different names, but it's a technique that allows supplement companies to put in less whey protein of what is actually listed on the label. So it might say 24 grams, but they're pulling that protein not all from what you think, which is whey protein, and they add additional amino acids to spike the nitrogen in there so it tests out at 24 grams of protein. So you think that you're getting 24 grams of protein from whey because you know protein. Well, guess what? If the protein does not come from whey and it comes from amino acids like glycine and taurine, even creatine and beta, anything with INE, right? That in a lot of cases is diluting this number. This is not coming from whey protein with nitrogen spiking. It's a combination of whey and amino acids. So not all companies who claim to have amino acids in their protein do this, but it is something that signals better watch out, or at least read a little bit more. And it was easier to spot until Dr. Stepani and this company, Gym Supplement Science, made it a thing back in around 2014, 2015, because it was easier to spot. Once again, when they turned the bag around, what we told consumers was right here under the ingredients facts panel. If you see things like glycine, taurine, glutamine, beta-alanine, creatine, anything with INE, okay, it's a good chance that that company is spiking their protein. It was easier to spot by giving directions to the consumers. Now, there are some ways in which they're actually being a little bit more trickier about it. There's too many ways to describe how that is, but it is something to be cautious of. I will say this, most companies who use a straight isolate blend or just a straight whey protein isolate typically are not going to do that because they're buying the more premium protein anyway. So most companies who like, I'll say, you know, like Dimetizes ISO 100, look, that's a competitor of mine, but they don't spike their protein, okay? They have hydrolyzed whey protein, which, you know, they're trying to make it faster than a regular isolate. And I don't know if there's a great advantage on that, but perhaps there is. But at least they're trying to make it better. But a lot of companies, if they're using whey protein concentrate, I wouldn't put past certain brands to be like, we might as well amino spike it too and make even more money. Now, that's not saying all brands do that. I'm not saying that whatsoever. It's just that's a cautionary tale. If you can't understand how to get into looking at the size of the scoop, adding up all the grams based on the carbs, the fats, the cholesterol, the sodium amount, the protein amount, everything that goes into that scoop, and then tacking it, like you got to do math in order to figure it out. And when somebody is going up to a shelf or they're buying online, I don't really think they're getting out their calculator. So it's easier to understand the more that you see it. We see less protein spiking than it once was back around 2013 through 2015, 2016. mainly because there was a major class action lawsuit where a lot of these big brands got sued because they were protein spiking. And so there was a group of lawyers who actually reached out to Jim and I, and they wanted Jim to be an expert witness in their discovery of, holding these companies fuel to the fire. Now, Jim wanted no part of it. Jim says, look, I'm not in here to tear any supplement brands down, but I'm just here to educate the consumers of what they look out to what they need to look out to be looking out for. And so that was the only thing in which that aspect of the protein spiking was considered. So that's protein spiking. Beware of it. Concentrates, beware of. Look out for protein spiking. That's another thing. Now, I'm going to get into these two other categories, which is organic protein and beef protein here in just like a second, and then I got to bounce. So organic protein, if organic protein comes from like organic whey protein, sorry guys, it's a bunch of crap. It's BS. There's no such thing as organic protein from organic grass-fed cows, and here's why. It doesn't matter what source of food the cows ate. Now, if you're going to eat that cow, if you're going to eat meat, have a hamburger, yes, that matters, whether it's grass-fed or it's grain-fed or whatever it is, right? We think in our minds, oh, the cows are free. They're okay. That's great. But when we're talking about extracting the actual protein from that particular source, the cow's milk, there is a process in which isolates the amino acid whey, which none of that other stuff has any bearing on it. Zero. Whether it was grass-fed or whatever, it makes no difference. And so grass-fed or organic whey protein, usually they charge a premium for. It's more expensive because they think that organic has a dollar amount in which factors in value to the consumers. So in many cases, you're paying extra for organic whey protein, which has absolutely no benefit for the difference of getting a high-quality isolate or it's grass-fed. It makes no difference. So it's a disingenuous thing. It might be true that the milk that they used was from a grass-fed cow, correct? But to market that as an advantage that they're somehow better and or different than regular old whey protein, where it's not making that claim, because I could probably say that too. I'd have to go through and get the C of A's, things like, because I know where the cows are at. They're in the Midwest. That's where our protein comes from, right? But I'm not going to sit there and try and say something that is factually not even accurate or going to serve as a benefit other than to charge a higher price for my protein and essentially dupe consumers into thinking that, well, ours says organic, so therefore I can charge you more. So because there's no advantage whatsoever, because when you get down to the amino acid structure that you're looking for, that's it. You're filtering out everything else that essentially could be beneficial, that would be beneficial from coming from grass-fed. Kev1 on repeat. Have you ever thought about joining RTD line? Yeah, look, we looked at the RTD stuff. Here's the deal with the RTDs. Every single company out there, for the most part, I shouldn't say every single, the vast majority of companies who have RTDs are not owned by two owners who started the brand. Right? They usually have funding from other larger organizations, whether it's Dr. Pepper, whether it's Anheuser-Busch, or any of these other multinational corporations. And the reason for that is because the RTD space, whether you're just doing a protein RTD, look, Big Bev has jumped into the supplement space in the RTD space. All right. And so in order to compete in that market, it's some big dollars. And so, yes, I want to do an RTD line. I want to do that, but it takes big dollars in order to do that. And typically you're playing in the game with Monster, Pepsi, Coca-Cola. That's the realm, that's the realm that you're playing, Anheuser-Busch. And so it's a different world. Look, business is a game, is a war like anything else. So we actually have RTDs done. We have an energy beverage product, which is actually amazing because it's energy coming from nutrients, not stimulants. So yes, we have that. We actually have a protein RTD that's essentially done. Okay? We have a few other things that are done in the RTD space I think could flank the RTD space, but we have not jumped into that just yet because the dollars to be able to do that, they're pretty massive. So some things have to be looked at internally in terms of how we'll be able to do that. But with your help, if you guys get the message out, you get more people on the Gym Army, that's how we do. I believe in winning with truth, honesty, and a support from your consumer base because you told them the truth and because you gave them what they wanted and because the promises that you made in which you sold them the product on were met by consuming the product after years and years and years of doing it. And that's the reason why we are here. So organic protein, in my opinion, not worth it. It's good protein. I'm not saying it's bad protein, but to say that there's something different from just your standard whey isolate or what we have is just disingenuous. The last thing I'm going to say right now is beef protein, okay? Beef protein is not ground up beef, steak, chicken, salmon, or whatever, meat there is and put into a tub and you're getting beef. It is the collagen, it is the joints, it is everything else, okay? It is not beef protein. It is not beef protein. You are not getting a steak or the benefits of what a steak has or the benefits of what chicken has or the benefits of salmon has and putting it into a powder and consuming it. That is not accurate, okay? It is collagen, it is the joints, it is everything else but the meat, okay? They should say everything but, it's not the beef, right? Like that's not what beef protein is. Beef protein is not ground up cow, not ground up chicken, not ground up salmon and put into a blender and now you're consuming it and you're like, sweet, I'm hitting my macros for the day. I'm being healthy because I just ate, 24 grams of protein coming from steak. That is not true. That is not what beef protein is. And I want people to understand that because it is, once again, one of these things that they're using nomenclature in order to try and distinguish themselves differently from what's on the shelf to give themselves a competitive advantage. And I applaud them for that, but let's just be true about it. It really doesn't necessarily mean what you think it means. I don't think it means what you think it means. You guys ever see The Princess Bride? That's kind of like, statement out there. I'm a child of the 80s. Most of the people watching this probably don't understand that analogy, but nonetheless, whey protein concentrate, right? Whey protein isolate, good. Whey protein spiking, just beware claims made of, additional amino acids being an advantage for taking the protein. You got to do some math. Not that all the companies who actually have amino acids in their protein or claim that they have, you're getting 5 grams of amino acids, essential amino acids in here. Just beware. It is something that you have to do a little bit more investigation into, to do some math, to beware and be sure that that company isn't adding the amino acids are fine to have in the protein as long as they're not taking away from the claim of the total protein. That's what you have to be careful of. And, I'll do a specific video topic on exactly how to calculate that. But for time's sake, I can't do that right now because I do have to go pick up my children. So until next time, guys, thank you so much. It's Mike McErlane. I appreciate you guys giving a little bit, 30, 40 minutes on the topic of protein powder problems. Thank you very much.